So welcome back. Small clarification in one of you pointed out very correctly. Say by mistake, it was my mistake. Say during explanation it was fine, but somehow it was incorrectly written. That is when I wrote from here to here the potassium. Right? It cannot. You are right. It cannot be. But I don't know why it happened. I'll just correct it into the notes also. But it cannot be potassium. Potassium, when it goes out. So here is the potassium. It is in large quantity. When the potassium is, if it is leaving, right? So obviously the cell will become more negative, right? It cannot be more positive. So what must have happened? This is my guess. Timing of 11 a.m. That would be very difficult for many of the reasons, right? It won't be convenient to me even when I talked with the management, even there also said this is the time which we have to. Evening to is impossible because in evening there are batches for USMLE. So that becomes very difficult. Achha. So what I was talking about is that say once these potassium they leave, so it becomes more negative. So what must have happened is, and that when I must be explaining that at this resting membrane potential, and today we'll be talking in very much detail about the reset mechanism also, because that is one of the very crucial mechanism. So what must have happened is that I must be explaining that sodium potassium pump, right? That is what works over here, right? The 3 sodium and 2 potassium, and the potassium pumps, they are also working at this point, which are throwing the potassium out, because this is constantly working irrespective of that what's the action potential over here it is, because these are the baseline pumps. So that must have happened, right? So just, and in any case, today it will be perfectly clear as we'll be talking things in more detail. So the topic for today, it's time to start. We are 10:30. And what time class will occur when you are in college, right? Once your college starts, what we'll be doing is, say, we'll take a survey. That is, what is the time which is convenient to everyone? Last time what we did was, we took it on Saturdays and Sundays, but they were extended classes. Extended means I used to teach for about 3 hours. Right? It was about 3 hours. So that you don't lose anything, and at the same time, the topics, they were pretty, all those important topics, they were in between. I was giving a break, let's say after 1.5 hours, a break of 5-10 minutes, and then once again you used to join. So this is actually what I do even with my students, those who are doing graduation in India. Till when the lectures, right? Lectures will be forever, like for 6 years. Well, that's in fact the plan. But maybe, say, it totally depends on you guys. I'm telling you honestly. It totally depends on you, because all the efforts and everything when it is put. And after that, if the attendance, it starts dropping. Last year also, we had to then stop the classes. Because if the excuses when they started coming, that we are having assignment in the college, etc., then we had to stop. Because there was presence was very less. And if the presence drops, and the presence got dropped at a very crucial junction when some very important topics were to be discussed. And after about 4 or 5 months, genuine students means nothing, means those who are willing to learn. It happened in past. Don't want to take anyone's name, but it happened in past when the students, I still have got those emails, when the seniors are telling कि इतना पढ़ने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Say for example ECG. When we study ECG, we study it in depth. When we study X-rays, we study in depth. Reason, यार X-ray and ECG, that will be like your bread and butter. दिन में 100 बार when you go to clinics, with every patient you will be watching the X-ray, है ना? If it is cardiac unit, so then every day you will be watching 20 ECGs. So such things whose importance in exam may be less. Say ECG में they say that it carries 1% weightage, 1 mark का आता है. So, right, that is very good. अच्छा ये क्या? What about the quotation? हाँ तो I just clarified. I think you have sent them. I told you in the email also, and I clarified it also. Because anyway, I think you must have joined late. I'll just clear it and then we'll start with the topic. So in the PDF, it was written over here, the potassium. Right? What I must be explaining is those baseline pumps. One of the baseline pump is sodium potassium ATPase pump, right? And second is the potassium pump, which works at baseline. But well, this is not there. It means from here to here, right? It won't be potassium. It will be any other ion, right? It would be any other ion. I'm not writing only sodium because today you get the answer that there are other ions also who can take it. But anyway, I think that thing has been clarified, and I wrote you in email also. Still you have got the doubt? Okay. So today's topic is we said the action potential. Now today's topic, I'll be taking it in a very different way. I know that you are in first year, right? But I'll be taking you all the way to pharmacology, so that you know that learning this process will be having tremendous impact on your clinics. That is, when you give the medicines in your brain, it should happen that what is happening, right? What is happening? Other ions travel through sodium potassium pump, or they are separate pumps? Rishikesh, it is say sodium potassium. Let's just wait for a while, right? I'll take this question. So action potential we learnt on neurons, right? On neurons. So that conduction goes. Today we are jumping skeletal muscles. Today we are not taking skeletal muscles. Straight away we are taking the cardiac muscles. Skeletal muscle and neuromuscular junction, that is what we'll take next time. So cardiac muscles and pacemaker, we'll take that. But what's the importance of learning about that calcium comes over here from sarcoplasmic reticulum, right? So sarcoplasmic reticulum, this, that, all that katha. Why to learn that? Its immediate impact will be when we'll be learning about the drugs. Now, you know about the adrenergic receptors, right? In adrenergic receptors, there are this alpha and the beta, and in case of beta, there is beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, right? So beta 1, there is only one heart, so it was a heart, right? Beta 2, so we have got 2 lungs, right? So they will be into the bronchioles, so they will be into the lungs, right? And beta 3, that is into the adipose tissue, etc. What we talked about. Right? Again, these things will come, so don't raise any question for this. But what my point is, we'll be talking about that what is selective and what is non-selective drugs and how they will be affecting the various aspects of the heart. So in other words, we'll be learning how to stop any of the anti-arrhythmia, right? So arrhythmias, how to stop those arrhythmias when the heart is not functioning properly. And we'll see that what is called as regularly irregular or irregularly irregular, all these things we will discuss, right? So that we understand the importance of this. Okay. Next time we'll be taking skeletal muscles. And with skeletal muscle, we'll also take the neuromuscular junction. So here is our topic, that is the action potential, right? Action potential. All the rules, what we learned till this point of time, will be the same. Now we have got 2 options. One, what is called as the myocytes, but in this case, it would be cardiomyocytes, right? Cardiomyocytes. And then there is a very special function, that is of the pacemaker. Now pacemakers, they are as such, they are the type of heart muscles only, but they are modified cardiomyocytes. They are modified cardiomyocytes, and they comprise of about only 1%, 1% of all the cardiac muscles. But it is this 1% who is running those 99%. This is the reason that even if someone's heart is beating, right, if that heart is taken out of the body and it is kept, still you'll find that heart will keep on beating. Heart has got nothing to do. There is nothing what is coming from the brain that heart you beat. No, heart is completely, totally independent. There is only one reason why heart would stop, and that reason would be heart is not getting the blood, right? But if you keep on supplying blood, if you keep on supplying oxygen to that heart, if you keep on supplying nutrition to that heart will keep on beating, even in the dish, right? Even in the dish. So after the heart transplant, recipient now feels like donor. Is it possible? Impossible. No. That is all serial, right? That is all serial. In which the feelings are like donor. Not possible. Not possible. It has got, because for brain, right, all the feelings, they are onto the limbic system, right? Your thalamus, your limbic system, your memory, your experiences, that's how the proteins are formed into the brain. Heart has got nothing to do with the brain. Brain can control the heart. Brain cannot run the heart. I mean, from brain, the signals, the adrenergic signals, right, adrenergic receptors, they will be stimulated and they'll say, okay, come on, heart, beat fast or beat more powerful. But it cannot say at every second, okay, come on, heart, beat. No, that is what is run by the pacemaker, right? So that is the thing, that even if you take the heart out, still it will beat because its command center is this pacemaker. These are the myocytes. That is the reason when it is kept outside. Yes. So moving on to this cardiomyocytes. So these are the muscles which will contract. Right. Now this is the difference. When they contract, that means over here there is physical movement involved. Correct. There is physical movement. These points, right, they will decide that which ions will become picture. In case of pacemaker, they are like electronic system. There is nothing to contract. These are the tissues and their function is just keep on sending the pulse, right? So this is purely electronic, right? And in that case, there is no movement, right? There is no movement. So that's why we said that they are the modified cardiomyocyte. They are part of the cardiac muscles. We have pacemaker without any surgery. So these are the natural pacemaker, right? These are the natural pacemaker. At the world, so that there is no confusion. Yes, the pacemakers which we keep into the patient, they are artificial pacemakers, but their function remains the same. The idea is that cardiac muscles, they are ready to contract, but who will say that contract, right? It is this pacemaker. So when we say pacemaker, okay, let me take this. Say in our heart, say this is the heart. So this is our right atrium, this is our left atrium, left ventricle, and the right ventricle, and then the aorta and pulmonary trunk, etc. Right now we are not drawing it. Yeah, over here into near this right atrium, right on over, there is most important pacemaker, and it is called as the SA node, right? SA node. It is atrial node. Now this is our primary pacemaker, right? It's primary pacemaker. So this will work. In case if anything goes wrong, then we have got one more pacemaker over here, and that is what is called as the AV, atrioventricular. Name itself suggests that it is at the junction of atria and the ventricle, right? Atrioventricular AV node. When we'll be learning ECG and then we'll be learning going into the detail of cardiac electric conduction and the entire formation of the ECG. We'll be talking in depth about it, but one very important point which I'm writing is that AV node, right? AV node is the only in capitals, only window between atria and ventricles. Think it, so smart. The entire heart is insulated, right? The entire heart from this junction over here, right? It is insulated. Any of the conduction which is going above, right? It is going above. So there would be one branch which will be going over here, which will be leading to contraction of left atrium. There will be one branch which will be going over here, which will be leading to contraction of right atrium. And there will be one bundle which will be going towards the atrioventricular node. Now, this AV node is the only window through which the conduction can go can go below. The only window. So, in case if AV node is not allowing the conduction, nothing will go on to the ventricular side. This is super important. Reason? AV node, it generates a delay, a small delay, right? This generates, the specialty of AV node is it generates a delay, right? There is a beautiful mechanism behind it, that how it generates the delay. So this delay, why delay? The delay behind it is that, see, when think it like SA node has sent the impulses to right atrium and left atrium. So right atrium and left atrium, they started contracting. Right? They started contracting. When they contract, what would happen? These valves will open. That means now the blood is filling into the right ventricle and the left ventricle. Till this point, AV node is not telling right ventricle and left ventricle, "Kare, boss, you contract." No, it is waiting. Let them fill. When they fill, and then the pulse is fired, okay, now you contract. So it is like when the gun is loaded and then it is said, now you fire. Had there not been a delay, suppose if this delay is not there, so even before the left ventricle and right ventricle, they are filled up, they will contract. So in that case, in our aorta or in our pulmonary trunk, we will not be getting sufficient blood. Right? So this is the beauty of the mechanism. And when we'll be learning, we'll combine everything together. That means the cardiac cycle, the pulse from SA node to AV node to all Purkinje, bundle of his Purkinje fibers, and the jugular pulse. All those things will combine together, so that you'll be having a complete idea that this is what really happened. But at this point of time, just understand that it generates a delay and then it goes to the ventricle. Right? It goes into the ventricle and bundle of his, etc. So that's the pacemaker. Right? This is what is called as the natural pacemaker. Natural pacemaker. In case if anything goes wrong to the pacemaker, when it goes wrong means, say for example, for some reason, if there is, now these are the very important areas, and let's say this area is damaged for any other reason. There are multiple reasons, but let's say if it is damaged, so then we need to give, or if it is firing improper pulses, so in that case we need to set a new artificial pacemaker. So that artificial pacemaker, which would be implanted into the body, and the wires will be going all the way. Right? I'll show you those wires also later. But those wires, they will be implanted. They'll be implanted into all these areas, into the right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. And then it is that artificial one, that circuit, right? That will be handling the beat of the heart. So that's the whole idea. I explained that generation of delay. Delay means AV is holding, say, the signal from SA node has come to AV node, and at AV node it is not sending it immediately to the ventricles, because it is allowing the ventricles to fill, right? Because when the pulse goes to, easy, when the pulse goes to left atrium and the right atrium, so from here and here, so they will contract. When they will contract, the blood will start going into the right ventricle and left ventricle, right? So they will start filling. When they are filling, You don't want to contract at that point. Let them fill fully and then the pulse comes. So it is that delay what is generated by the AV mode. Correct? So impulse will pass from SN node to AV node and then to ventricles. Obviously, right? SN node to AV node to ventricles. Right? So because of this delay, it is allowing the ventricles to fill. Right? So that's the whole logic. Still, there are so many mechanisms in between, but this one concept will make you, when you will see the ECG, you will be able to feel, okay, this is what is happening. This is the point when there is a delay. Right? Because when there is no conduction, so I'll explain it right now only. It is that simple. This is the ECG pattern. This is the ECG pattern. P wave, Q, R, S, T. This P wave is formed. This P wave is formed when this thing occurs. This one. That means atrial contraction. Right? So here it is, the atrial contraction. So this is called as the atrial depolarization. Got it? Depolarization. Right? Depolarization. So that means when the atrial depolarization occurs, that means atria would contract. Atria is contracting, and then there is a flat line. See, this is a flat line. This one. So this flat line is indicating this delay. So the time is passing, and it is during this time when the valves are open and when the blood is getting filled. And when at this point the blood is filled, at this junction, there comes the ventricular depolarization. Ventricular depolarization. It is at this point when the ventricles they contract. So this is how the delay is put, right? This delay. This is the delay. So when the line is flat, because if the current is coming, right? This is the electrode, right? If this is the electrode, if the current is coming, so then it will generate a positive wave. If the current is going, so it will generate a negative wave. So that's how the current is formed. Right? More when we talk about the ECG. But just remember, this is the best thing. This is the delay. Right? Because of that AV, right? Flat line because of AV characteristics, AV mode. Perfect. Sure. So here we said about that they contract, and do remember that for contraction it is the calcium. For contraction it is the calcium who is responsible. The rest of everyone, that is the sodium, potassium, they will be playing a partial role, just that role, so that they take the whole thing to the level when the calcium fires. That's the whole idea. They want that yes, calcium should fire, and rest of the mechanism is supported to take it to that level. So calcium is the trigger. Now actin myosin filaments, right? That's how they go. Actin myosin filaments, right? That's how they work. So when the muscles are relaxed, so they are like this, and when they contract, right? So there is massive overlapping. There is massive overlapping. Muscle physiology, we'll see this next time. Right? So there would be, this is when it is contracted. And for this contraction, right, or the contract. So this is how relaxed and contraction, that is what it is. Hang on, right? The importance of calcium is much more than what you ask for. Right? Just understand, it will come up. Right? So here, these are the rapid electrical changes. Now think it like, here is a pacemaker, right? Here is a pacemaker. So pacemaker is not moving, but pacemaker is connected with the complete series of, this is the cardiac myocytes, right? These are the cardiac myocytes, one muscle after the other, one cell connected with each other, one after the other. So let's say this is our SN node, and these are all cardiomyocytes, right? These are all cardiomyocytes, and they are arranged. But there is one specialty about cardiac myocyte. And that cardiomyocyte that there is something what is called as there are doors. These are called as the gap junction. Actually, there is a gap. In its real sense, there is a gap. Right? So there is a gap. So these gaps will allow certain ions to pass through it. Right? No rocket science. Simply there is a gap, so they will let it. Right? So here is our pacemaker, and all these are cardiac cells. Now the mechanism is totally different, or quite different between how the impulses are generated. So what we are now doing is, first we are understanding the cardiac myocyte. Though pulse generates first into the pacemaker, but you'll understand why we are learning this thing first, because it has got more stages. It has got more stages, and the mechanism is slightly more complex as compared to what happens in the pacemaker. Once you have understood cardiac myocyte, understanding pacemaker is a matter of 2 minutes. We'll take example of just one cell, this particular cell, right? And the entire game will start on this. This is our cardiac myocyte. Okay, here it is. So that's our cell, in which there is a gap junction. So I've just drawn a gap junction, and parallelly over here, we'll keep on drawing our graph. Even in cardiac myocyte, all those pumps, sodium, potassium, ATPase pump, right? That is working. This is the active pump, right? And this one. So sodium, potassium, ATPase pump, that is working. Right? 3 sodiums out, 2 potassium in, and on top of it, there is a potassium pump, right, which is constantly throwing the things outside. And this is how it is working. And it is the resultant factor, the result of this everything is, say, sodium, this is going out, potassium is going out, and 2 potassium they are coming in. So basically, it is a loss now. Number of positive ions which are going out, they are more. So that's why minus 90 millivolt. That's why our resting membrane potential is always negative. Right? So this we have talked in detail also. So that is the resting membrane potential. So these are the pumps which are working. Now something interesting happens. So here is our journey has started. Our pulse has started. So this is the baseline, flat line. Nothing has happened till this point. And then that pacemaker, it generates something. There is no potassium in. What are you writing? Inside there is tons of potassium. Inside the potassium is large amount. Outside there is sodium. These are the basic things we talked about. Right? Outside there is always more potassium. Inside there is always more. Outside there is more sodium. Inside there is more potassium. That's the reason over here you have to use the energy, because you are working against the potential gradient, and that's why you require ATP. In this case, there is no energy needed, because as such, outside is less potassium. Inside there is so much of potassium. So just the channel which is open, it simply flows out. Right? I hope this is clear. Coming back to this, here, minus 90 millivolt, because more loss of potassium. And then comes change the color. And then either, now see this gap junction, either over here, it could be the pacemaker, it is a pacemaker, or it could be our neighboring cardiac myocyte, another muscle. Like right now we are talking about this. But what if we are talking about this? In that case, our neighbor is another cardiomyocyte. Whosoever, whether it is a pacemaker or it is cardiomyocyte, they will be sending some ions, right? They will be sending some ions. So these ions, they come in. They come in. Now these ions are calcium, right? And sodium. Calcium in less quantity, sodium in more quantity, right? So, but still it is coming via gap junction. So that will be gradually, very slowly, right? It will be lifting because it is positive, both are positive. So some calcium and sodium, they just come and they will be lifting it to minus 17 millivolt. And this thing is what is called as the threshold potential. Threshold potential, because that's the level for which they were working. So over here, this is the sodium and some calcium, right? That calcium is actually very less. So individual sodium and potassium channels are passive. No, sodium channels are not passive. Sodium channels, are you talking about, these are not channels, these are gap junction. If we are talking about this is passive, right? Sodium channels, right, over here, they are active. And individual sodium channels, they are not at all passive. If they are passive, then the whole game will go away, right? They are extraordinarily voltage triggered. That's the specialty of sodium channels. This is not a channel. This is a gap junction. Remember, there is a difference, right? This is a gap junction. Through the gap junction, this small amount of sodium and calcium, they are just seeping in, right? And they just take, they just take it to threshold potential. So these are through gap junction. I'll just write gap junction. Now at minus 70 millivolts, something of these happens. Then there are, in this our cell, there are so many sodium channels, so many, right? These sodium channels are there. But these channels, they are the VNA+. V means voltage gated, right? How the graph went up, you tell me. I'm explaining it so many times that calcium and sodium, when they are coming into the cell, won't it come up? Where are you? Good morning. Right? So due to gap junction, when the positive ions they are coming, obviously it will become more positive. Right? So minus 90 to minus 70. And now these at threshold potential, these voltage gated sodium channels, they would open. Right? And when they open, they shoot. They shoot because they are super rapid, extremely fast. And this is what is called as the depolarization. Right? This is depolarization. So this depolarization, that is went from negative, we are becoming more positive. Right? We are becoming more positive. It will go all the way up to plus 20 millivolt. And why it is happening? It is because of when we write VNA+, this means that these are voltage gated channels. Voltage gated means these channels, they got triggered at minus 70. That's why it was called as the threshold potential, a level at which it fires. Right? So when it reaches to this level, in case of cardiac myocyte, minus 70 millivolt is the level when the sodium channels, they fire. Clear? Right? And they will go till plus 20. They will go till plus 20. And at plus 20, these channels will be deactivated. And these channels will be deactivated. Now, you know the difference between closure and the deactivation. Right? Closure and deactivation. Closure, deactivation means that now whatever is done, right, those channels, they won't function. They will function only when the potential will come down. Right? So over here, these sodium channels, right, VNA+, right, they are deactivated. Once they are deactivated, it would be now equal. Now the next one would come, and that next is, it is at this point when the voltage gated potassium channels will open up. Remember, these are voltage gated potassium channels. They are very different. Don't confuse with this particular one. That one was the passive, right? That one was the passive. It is still working, but dhire dhire, right? Slowly, slowly it is working. Now these are the voltage gated potassium channels, and they are in large number. They are in large number. So the moment they open, immediately, right? Just a minute. Yeah. So this is when the voltage gated potassium channels will start, right? So this is, it is already written. So this is what is called as the first, or you can say, let's make it simple, initial repolarization, right? Initial repolarization, correct? Now this in initial repolarization, it starts, but then there is something else happens. And what's that? Say over here, okay, this is passive. I'll just write it over here. This is the where the it is voltage gated potassium channels, right? So that is different than that passive one. So this operates on voltage, and it would start throwing the potassium in large quantity. So immediately it will start coming down. Now, as it is coming down, right, just at +5 millivolt, something else happens. There is the entry of voltage gated calcium channels. Now they open up. Right? But this is the phase what we are. I just draw it over here. Right? I'll not draw rest of the things. So this was the gap junction. All the other pumps, they are working. But at this point of time, only 2 pumps are working. One. This one is what? This pump is voltage gated potassium, and this pump is what? This is voltage gated calcium. Right? Voltage gated calcium, it will try to go bahar se, right? It will try to go. It will pump the calcium in. And what would happen in case of, say, potassium? Potassium is going out. Because at this point of time, both the pumps, both the channels, they have opened up, right? Because they all are voltage gated. Right? Yes, that's right. That's right, Shankar. Right? So over here, at voltage gated calcium channels, now they are open. Now see what is happening. Positive ions are leaving and positive ions are coming. Right? So actually, the resultant factor, it is same. So that's the reason over here, this would be a phase when you'll be getting a plateau. It is called as the plateau. A flat line, right? Or the neutral. That's right, right? A neutral. This is what is called as the plateau. That would develop. It is during this phase. It is during this phase. This is the phase which is critical for us. I'm moving on to the next page because this plateau is the thing which you have to understand, and it is this plateau in which we are interested. Even the cardiac myocytes, they will be interested in this phase only, nothing else. So, what it is? So, this is our cell. This is our cell. All the other pumps, they are working, right? But our calcium, it has entered, right? This is voltage gated calcium. And yes, and just draw it in one side that the potassium is leaving, right? Because of those voltage gated. But we are interested in this calcium. This calcium, inside the cell, there is one piece, one important structure, and it is called as the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Sarcoplasmic reticulum. Because calcium, we just said that calcium is something which triggers the contraction. Then done, calcium is coming, so muscle should contract. But this calcium is very less. This much less calcium, it cannot really contract such powerful cardiac muscles. It cannot. So there has to be another mechanism, or amplifier mechanism. Now this is sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now sarcoplasmic reticulum, in simple words, it is nothing but it is a bag of calciums. It is a bag full of calcium, but this bag is locked. This bag is locked. And the key of the lock is this calcium. So when, in simple words, what it is, that there are receptors. These are the calcium triggered receptors. So these receptors, they will just give way only when the calcium comes from outside. So this small amount of calcium, it will generate large amount of calcium. Why? Because of this amplification system. That's where this is also the magnification or the amplifier of the system, calcium amplifier. So there is so much of calcium, but this calcium, muscle was unable to use it because it was packed. So it is this receptor, it got activated, right? And this calcium, it started coming out. And it is this calcium, the loads and tons of calcium which is coming, that leads to contraction. Right? So this is the phase. Come back to this. This plateau is what? This is the phase of contraction. So actually cardiac muscles, they contract over here. Right? Calcium activates that receptor. It is a calcium triggered receptor. So outside calcium, that small amount of calcium, it opens the key. Right? The sarcoplasmic reticulum is designed for that purpose. Right? Sarcoplasmic reticulum is designed for that purpose. Its purpose itself. Why? The question you have asked it is like that RBC. Why RBC is carrying oxygen and not the WBC? It is because RBC has got the hemoglobin. WBC, they have got their own functions. So sarcoplasmic reticulum, it is designed in such a way that its function is the storage of calcium. The way it is like, what is the function of mitochondria? Well, mitochondria, it is for the production of energy. Right? It is like a powerhouse of our cell. That way, so every component has got separate function. So one of the function of sarcoplasmic reticulum is the storage of calcium. Now, as this calcium comes out, the contraction occurs. Man, why are you confusing it right now with neuromuscular junction? Forget about neuromuscular junction. We'll talk about it. Right now, don't focus on this because we'll be going into much more depth. I don't mind answering any of your questions, but never deviate. I would always insist that when the topic which is going on, focus on that topic so that it is properly absorbed. When it will come to neuromuscular, there will be obviously there will be a different mechanism. So over here, right? So this is the calcium which has led to the contraction. At one point of time, when this calcium channels, they would stop because only small amount, it will remain on for, it is a timed channel, timed voltage trigger channel. So it will remain on for only certain time and then it will close. As it would close, what happens over here? Now the calcium is not going in, but those potassiums, right, they are working. The potassium channel has not stopped. So now potassium channels, they will take over and it will lead to drop. So again, over here, the potassium channels, right? They will take the drop. You got the answer? Because at no point of time I said that potassium channels stop. They stop over here. So this is called as the final repolarization. Final repolarization. So there was initial repolarization, final repolarization, and it drops all the way. Okay, and it comes to this resting membrane. Right? It reaches to this point, and it is at this point when these VK plus they are deactivated, and this cycle repeats. Calcium receptor thing. Calcium receptor thing was that in case of, say, if this is the sarcoplasmic reticulum, over here there is one gate, right? That is a receptor, and this receptor it is opened by the presence of calcium. The calcium which has come into the system via voltage triggered calcium channels, right, at the top. When it comes over here, this receptor it gives way, right? It gives way. And then all the calcium whatsoever which was stored, it will start coming out. As the calcium comes out in large quantity, it is the calcium, which we talked before, that it is this calcium which will trigger the contraction in the heart to contract, in the heart muscle or the cardiomyocyte that will contract. It's contract. Very simple. Calcium triggered calcium activating channels. Right? The channel which has been activated by the presence of calcium. So this is the calcium which will be coming out, right, due to the small amount of calcium. That's why it is called as the amplification. Amplification system. A small amount of calcium has triggered large amount of calcium. Correct? Okay. So we reach to this point. Now we learn that what would really happen when we, very easy to say that, okay, and then from this point, we have reached to the resting membrane potential, and the second beat or the second cycle starts. Not really. Because think it like this is, if this is the cell, what's our, like say in accounts, your earning and expenses, right? They should be balanced, correct? The total equivalent after contraction. You tell. You tell. When the muscle contraction over here, muscle contraction ends, right? Muscle contraction is up to this point. And then the repolarization is occurring. So it is coming down. Correct? But over here, just you'll get the answer in this. Right? That's why this reset mechanism. So just nothing. Hang on for a minute. What I was explaining, that in accounts there is credit and debit, right? Two are there. That is how much have you earned and how much have you spent. They both should match. Now thinking right now, what's the situation? We have, right, sodium. So much of sodium has come in, right? So we have sodium over here, large amount of sodium, right? That is over there. No one has thrown it back, the large amount of sodium. Then what has happened? Potassium, so it has gone out, right? So yes, potassium has gone out. Who has taken it in still? No one, right? So, and what about the calcium? Well, the calcium has entered. Yes, calcium has entered. And still, this was the less calcium, but the large amount of calcium of the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So he has to flooded the entire thing with calcium. So that means if at this point of time muscle will just contract, will remain like this one. right? He will not relax because calcium is present. If we really want to make the next cycle, then we have to reset. That means, chalo, everyone back to your original position, then the second cycle starts. That's why it can beat in the rhythm. Because otherwise, if this is the situation, so much of sodium inside, so much of potassium outside, loaded with calcium, this muscle would never release. So that's why now we'll be understanding the reset mechanism. Right? Reset mechanism. This reset mechanism is the foundation for entire pharmacology. Right? Till now, what we learned, there would be certain areas where will be say affected. They will be affected by certain drugs, but this reset mechanism will be very crucial. Am I clear about this, that why we need to learn this reset mechanism? If there is any doubt, just ask, because then we go for this reset system. You should be crystal clear about this idea that yes, now the cell is loaded with calcium. Cell has got very less potassium, because if every time cell has to throw the potassium out, so at one point of time, the cell will become empty, right? There won't be any potassium, and cell would be loaded with so much of calcium, correct? So here is now our reset system or reset mechanism. Got it? Good. So that's our cell. On one side, we are writing that when we write sodium over here, that means this is extra sodium which is present, right? When we write potassium over here, that means there is extra potassium which has gone out. We need to take it back. And there is calcium everywhere. And our sarcoplasmic reticulum is, which are almost khali. Muscle is in contracted state. We need to relax it, at the same time it needs to be reset. Now there comes multiple pumps. Few pumps which we have already talked about. One of the important pumps which will be working is sodium, potassium, ATPase. That's why the energy is needed. So that even though outside still there is so much of sodium, but put 3 sodiums out. And in the process, it will take 2 potassiums in. So this is the first pump which is working. So this will do good work. Right? This will do good work. But fine, chalo, sodium and potassium, so they will be settled, right? They will be settled by this. What about calcium? What would happen to calcium? We need to take this calcium out. So because of the absence of calcium, right, and we need to activate a pump over here. One pump over here and one pump over here. So what these pumps? This second pump, this is the pump which will be working with sodium and calcium transport. That means what it will do, it will say, see, if this pump is on now, if this pump is on, or you can say this channel is on, bahar to as such there is so much of sodium. Right? The moment they will get the gate, again phatak, right? Sodium will come in. Right? Sodium will simply jump in. But we'll let him jump. Anything. Right? Let him come, because against that, one calcium is going out. So let the sodium come, calcium is going out. So we are trading that our as such ATPase is working, that it is putting 2 potassiums out, right, and taking 3 sodiums in, and so it is throwing 3 sodiums out and 2 potassiums in, and over here this calcium is going out with 1 sodium. So what would be the result? 3 sodiums, they are coming out, and 1 sodium, it is going in. So result, 2 sodiums. Correct? Net 2 sodiums, they are going out. 2 potassiums, they are coming in. Yes, 2 potassiums, they are coming in. So this is good for us. This is good for us. And 1 calcium is also going out. So this is going out. this is coming in, this is going out. So everything is good, all good, correct? Still, this is not sufficient because there is so much of calcium, and if this much of calcium will be, so it is going to give a big trouble. So that is where the active calcium pumps, they will come into picture. Right? The active calcium pump, what it will do is, this is what is called as the calcium ATPase pump. ATPase pump. This pump will start throwing the potassium in large amount. So it will start throwing calcium out in large amount. At the same time, similar pump is present over here also. So this pump is also calcium ATPase pump, right? ATPase. So that means ATPase, that means energy is needed. So it will start putting it inside. So inside store, that will start filling up, right? And this outside one, that will be thrown outside. So the final effect would be what? All the calcium which has come out to go once again into the sarcoplasmic. That small amount which was floating into the cytoplasm, that is thrown out. So calcium trouble gone, right? Now the calcium is settled, correct? And then sodium, potassium, they are working very effectively, 2 sodium, 2 potassium, right? They are working at double the speed, right? Double the speed, so that is how. So sodium business is also set, potassium account is also set, everything fine. And that's how it will reset the system back to the base level, and it is ready for next pulse. Right? So this is what really happened. These are some very vital pumps. So when we'll be talking about antiarrhythmic drugs, there are type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. So these pumps, they will be coming into picture. These pumps, that is one particular drug, it will be affecting which pump. So the moment that pump is affected, you know that yes, what will happen. Okay, so this was a reset mechanism. Is this absolutely clear? Sodium calcium pump is a passive pump. Sodium taken in and calcium thrown out. Simple, right? This one, because outside there is so much of sodium now. So why do you want to spend any energy? And inside there is so much of sodium, as such we want to throw it out. It will go. So that is the exchange. Remember, these pumps, they are specific. So when we talk about sodium calcium pump, so it won't be handling anything else, right? It won't be telling that potassium to be aja. No. It will be only for sodium and calcium. And calcium ATPase needs ATP. What you wrote, ATPase, that means what? Right? Whenever we write ATPase, all ATPase, they need energy. That's why the tabhi tumko ATPase bolte. If you don't write ATPase, that means it is a passive pump. Right? It is just working with a gradient. Right? Working with a gradient. What is working with the gradient? Here there was so much of calcium. Right? So to go out, so easy. There is so much of sodium. Right? To come in, very easy. So no energy is needed. But if this is the sodium and we want to throw it out, already there is so much of sodium. That is what is called as the potential gradient. Correct? So in that case, you require ATP. So this takes place in all the cell somas at the same time. Yes, it happens. That's the most beautiful thing about the heart, because it happens in all the myocytes at the same time. Because that's why the whole heart beats in a single rhythm. Whole heart beats in a single rhythm. This is not true for the muscles. Because in muscles, when you are working, right, when you are running, so during running, one set of muscles they are contracting. Then as those muscles they got tired, so then it is the second group of muscles which will take over. Once they are tired, a third group of muscles which will take over. When all the groups are tired, then you feel like bas ab kam nahi dauda jayega. Otherwise, they keep on changing, right? They keep on relaying. That system is not here, right? In case of heart, no, entire heart beats as one, right? This gives us one group. That's right. That's right. So many questions. This takes in, yes, it takes place in all the research system. Just this is the research system. From calcium ATPase pump. From calcium ATPase pump. This is where it uses actively, it starts throwing out. This is the very powerful pump. Very powerful pump. So it is like, why it has to be ATP is to be used? Because this particular pump, right, it is against any circumstances. It will just keep dumping on both the sides. It will keep on throwing on opposite side. So even if the concentration of calcium it starts dropping, this pump won't stop. It's a khali karo. Right? So it will actively start transferring. Otherwise, if it is a passive pump, at one point of time it will say कि बस अभी बाहर और अंदर there are same number of calcium, now I can't. No, this is an active pump. Active pump means it won't see that inside how much calcium. It said my work is to throw all the calcium out. That is what it would be really doing. 2K and 2K, where is 2K? This thing? This 2K? Sodium potassium ATPase pump. Right? Sodium potassium ATPase pump. And this 2K, acha. This was the account. Right? ये पूरा हिसाब जो किया. What was the hisab? This said sodium potassium. So sodium, 3 sodium out, right? 3 sodium out. And then in this second pump, 1 sodium was coming in. So what would be the -1? So that means we have got 2 sodiums out. Correct? 2 sodiums out. Then regarding the potassium, is sodium potassium ATPase pump, so it is taking 2K in. So this is 2 potassiums, they are coming in. So this is also good, this is also good. And the calcium, this calcium is going out. So over here, this was the calcium, and 1 calcium is going out. So this was also good. So this means calcium, sodium, and potassium. So this is what is going into our accounts. But we implemented extra ATPase pump because we wanted to make it fast. In this also by same sodium from gap junction. No, not at all. Why should? That's the reason that there is a gap junction. When there is a gap, so that means these will be flowing at a super fast pace, because this is a gap, right? Nothing is to be done simply because there is gap, so they travel. As such, heart is this much. As such, the heart is this much. They as such travel at the speed of 75 meters per second. So how fast it will be spreading across? So if any mechanism is to be done, so that will lead to delay. Gap junctions, they will never lead to. They will be much faster. Much faster. So here this is how the cardiac myocytes they will be functioning, right? Contraction is at the plateau, when there is plateau. What for the exam purpose, right? These are all given some numbers. These are all given some numbers. And these numbers, at times, if you feel like that confusing, they are called as phase 4, phase 0. Everything starts with this resting. Right? So if you start counting it from here, This is phase 0. When the depolarization starts, the actual work starts from there. So this is called as the phase 0. Then this one is phase 1. When there is initial depolarization. When it is plateau, it is called as phase 2. When there is repolarization, this is called as phase 3. And when it comes to resting membrane potential, and when things are getting reset, it is called as phase 4. So this is also phase 4. That's how it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2. That's right, sir. Outer calcium ATPase pump work only when the inner level of calcium is high. That's right. Because its function is to relax the heart, to relax that myocyte. It is necessary that we need to knock out the calcium which was present over here. So either we throw it out or we put it back into the sarcoplasmic. Either way, right? It should not remain present over here, because if it is present over here, it will start contracting the muscle. So once the contraction has occurred, we need to relax. So it is when these pumps they go wrong, so then the heart would contract, right? It will contract. If they are not sufficient, the heart would not contract fully. It will not contract fully. It will not relax fully. That's why we'll be learning just in few minutes the pharmacology. Right? Very briefly, but we'll give you super wide. Next, now we talk about the pacemakers. One interesting mirror was, can we keep the lecture for 45 minutes? No, we cannot. I would really insist that you need to develop the capacity. If I can teach the, why can't you learn? So 45 minutes to kabhi nahi. Even if it is like, come to my USMLE lectures. You will come. They last for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. For the timing clash, yes, we'll plan out something. Depending upon how many students are there, how many are joining, how many are present. No, that is those classes. Right now, I won't even insist you to go for this, because they are extremely high pace, very high speed time, very high speed lectures. So we do the complement systems just one single shot, right? In one day only, all the complement systems. Right? We'll talk about it. So coming back to this SNO, coming back to this pacemaker. So this is a SNO. This is the SNO. SNO. This is the AV node, and that's what is called as the bundle of His, right? Bundle of His, and then these are all the Purkinje fibers. In short, this is the electric wiring. This is nothing but the electric wiring which is spread across the entire heart, and that's how we draw, right? This is the insulation. So that means this is the right atrium, this is the left atrium. The current which is above, it cannot come down, except this is the only window available through which it will be coming down. These are the ventricles, right? In ventricles, this one is the right ventricle, this one is the left ventricle. From left ventricle, there goes the aorta. Aorta has to push the blood into the entire body. So that's why the musculature of ventricle, left ventricle, that is much bigger, that is much powerful, much thicker muscles as compared to, right? I'm just drawing proportion, right? Compared to right ventricle, because what right ventricle will be doing, it will be sending it via pulmonary trunk, and from pulmonary trunk, where it has to go just 6 inches, right, on both the sides, lungs, right? Right lung and left lung. So they are so near. No more pressure is needed. So that's why right ventricular pressure is always low as compared to the left. Because left ventricle from aorta, it has to push to the brain, it has to come down all the way to the legs, right? So power is needed. At the same time, if you really see the architecture of aorta, right, what we'll see, we'll be watching it in the histology. It is much thicker, much bigger tube as compared to these pulmonary trunk. Right? Pulmonary trunk, you find at its wall, they are obviously for less pressure, it is doing less workout, so it will be as powerful as compared to the aorta. Okay. Now, we'll talk about what is called as the functional syncytium, right? Very, very interesting and very important word. See what is happening in this case. There is an electrical system. Right? Think it like that these pacemakers, they are about 1% of the entire heart cells. Correct? So when the current is going, none of the pacemakers, none of the SA node, AV node, these fibers, or it is just think like those electric lines which are going in your house, right? So when the current is going, so it is the fan which is moving. But those wires, they are not moving. So this means this is the electrical system. Right? There is an electrical system. Second, the heart is contracting. Cardiac myocytes, they will be contracting, so that there will be the mechanical. And the third is, you will agree that there are receptors, right? Now combine this thing with, if the person is into the fighting, what will happen? Its heart rate would increase, right? Right now, we'll not talk about blood pressure and all of that. Just think of that his heart rate would increase. So that means when the sympathetic activity is working, right? Sympathetic stimulation is there. That means there would be release of adrenaline. When the adrenaline is there, so then it will be stimulating adrenergic receptors, right? In adrenergic receptors, we talked about that there is alpha and the beta receptors. Right? In beta, there was beta 1, beta 2, and the beta 3. In this, we are interested in this beta 1. Beta 1, which is for the heart. That means this beta receptor stimulates goes. Right? So this beta receptor will tell that pacemakers increase the pace. Right? Start sending the signals fast. And all this is happening because of this neurotransmitter or the chemical. Right? So the chemical. So it is this chemical, adrenaline, right? Or the noradrenaline, epinephrine or norepinephrine, all same, right? It is telling that go, beat, right? So when the pacemakers, they will start sending the signals, so things will start beating faster. So that's how the heart rate will increase. So that is the component of chemical. The heart is a combination of electrical, mechanical, and the chemical. And this thing is called as the functional. This is like a music. This is like music. This is like a full orchestra. Everything is playing exactly at that time. So that's why the music becomes so good. So this is what is called as the functional syncytium, right? Syncytium, functional syncytium, or the orchestra, right? What it really plays. Okay. So here comes our pacemaker. And they conduct it at a very high pace. Right? So SA node to AV node. This SA node is the boss, and he is a big boss. AV node is a small boss, right? And all these, they are like circuits. That number. So over here, this is SA node. AV node will always be very enthusiastic. Nahin, I'll send the pulse. But the moment it hears from SA node, but it will always, that means for the entire life, AV node will be having a burning desire कि एक दिन मैं बोलूं, right? मेरे मेरा कहा, everyone listens. But SA node tells कि no, it is like what I am telling you, send that message to rest of the people, right? To rest of the fibers. So that is what is called as the SA dominance. But in case if SA node goes down, so it is the AV node which starts taking the lead. But what happens? Can it occur like that? What if this link is broken? So now even if a SA node is there, but boss ka phone hi nahi lag raha, so then AV starts taking the decision. This is what is called as the SA-AV dissociation. This means SA node is telling the ventricles fire beat, but SA node is unable to tell AV. AV is dhila dhala. It is telling the ventricles, right? Atrias they are telling that blood to bhar diya, right? Ventricles are full, contract, but AV telling ha ha kar. So this is when you will find that atrias and the ventricles, they are not beating in the rhythm. That rhythm is not there. Right? So when you do ultrasound or when you do Doppler, you'll find all these changes. Right? It was not very complex. Right? Don't worry. It is simply when the connection between SA node and is disrupted. So then they both will remain, both will contract. They both will send the message there. SA node, it sends message to right atrium and left atrium direct. Right? There are direct lines. So straight away there. The problem can occur in this area. So that is SA node, AV node, and that time. Here starts again our graph. This time, this is the pacemaker. Now remember, in case of pacemaker, there is no one who is generating the stimulus. Everything is to occur by himself, right? This means I use the word, it has to be self-motivated. Self-motivated. Because up till every point we say that signal has come from brain or it has come from this nerve, then it is stimulating this muscle or myocytes, so then gap junction was there. But from where the things are starting, right, is from the pacemaker. So here this is a very unique mechanism by which it will be generating the signals. Right? The game starts in this case at minus 65 millivolts. The game starts at minus 65. This is the resting phase. Now, in this cell, this is a pacemaker. Just for the clarification, this is a pacemaker, or you can say this is our SA node. In SA node, there is a one very unique channel. This channel is present only and only into this pacemaker. These channels, they are called as, will be requiring space to write the name of it. It is called as HCN. This abbreviated form is much better. The full name is, right, hyperpolarization. It's hyperpolarization activated. Later on, we'll see that what exactly are these cyclic nucleotide, but this is like HCN. This is cyclic nucleotide channel, right? Channel. So this is hyperpolarization activated cyclic nucleotide channel. Look at this. This is quite a funny name. Funny name. And the current which is generated by them, that is called as the funny current. Like, there is nothing funny about it, but yes, it is called as the funny name. So what these channels they do, there is a leakage. There is a leakage. This particular channel is so special that it tells sodium without any reason, let it come. Sodium comes. This is present in, remember, only 1% of the entire cardiac myocyte. Only few of them. Those who have got this capacity, they become pacemaker. Now, the sentence I said, that those who have got this capacity, they become the pacemaker, right? It means if this is the heart, I this easily, right? So this is a genuine normal SA node. But what if there is some abnormality in some other areas? They develop these HCN channels. Yeah, they will start sending the signals, right? So they will start sending the signal. And there are conditions in which this atria, they'll beat without any rhythm. Because atrias, they are not understanding that, say, this is a genuine signal from SA node or this is a signal from some other ectopic nodes. They are called as the ectopic node. Ectopic means something which should not be present and still it is present. Right? Abnormal nodes, and they are firing, right, randomly. So atria would be confused when to contract and when to relax. Right? Because one has said chalo fire, right? Signals have come, it is contracting, right? And by the time it has to relax, someone else is firing. So this is where the pathology is happening. So over here, right? This is the HCN channel. So sodium starts coming in. So this is minus 65. As the sodium starts coming in, it gradually rise. So this is because of sodium influx. Right? Sodium is coming. And that is what's called as the funny current. Funny current. Okay. Because of the HCN. This is the resting phase. Also called as the pacemaker potential. Resting phase, pacemaker potential. As it reaches minus 50 million, as it reaches minus 50, see what happens. It is at this point the calcium channels, and these are very special calcium channels. They are the voltage gated calcium channels, and they are called as L type. Right? Or over here, and the calcium channels. Right? There is influx of calcium. So then the calcium straight away goes up. Right? So this is because of the calcium. These are voltage gated. Right? Voltage gated. So they open. If you really want to give the number, so this is the depolarization. Right? This is the depolarization. So this is the phase 0. Depolarization simply. So over here, those calcium channels open and the calcium has come in. Voltage gated calcium channels. Right? Simple. Which part didn't get? Voltage gated calcium channels, they open. Right? That's it. So when inside it is, now the plus positivity is increasing, so it would be up. Right? All the voltage gated channels, they are fast. Right? They are always fast. So rapidly they will be going over there. Right? They will be reaching to this point. When it reaches to plus 10 millivolt, these calcium channels, they are deactivated. And it is at this point when the protection channels, they go. Again, voltage. And this voltage, all the way, it will take down in a single shot. Ectopic acid? No, forget about ectopic. This is normal. Why should I teach you the ectopic thing before teaching the normal? Learn it in a simple way. So, what I'm telling is, this is the voltage gated potassium, and when the potassium channel is open, this is what? Repolarization. Repolarization. And it will come. That's how. And then the reset mechanism. Resets. So we have 0. Right? This is the stage 0. The repolarization was stage 3. Stage 3. This reset is what? This is stage 4. So we have got stage 4, 0, 3, Oh, there is no stage 1 or stage 2. It can't be, no? There is no stage 1 and there is no stage 2. Stage 1 was what? Stage 1 was that initial repolarization. Right? So we can say that stage 1 must be over here, but the whole thing is considered as 1 only because in between there was plateau. So there is no plateau because they don't have to contract. Right? Pacemakers, they don't have to contract. And this one, it is merged in that one repolarization, single wave of repolarization. So there is nothing like a separate initial repolarization. So that's why this 1 and 2, they are not there. Straight away, we'll be having stage 4, 0, 3. So this is how that this pacemaker potential that really occurs. Now see, what is the use of learning this much? When the heart is not beating, so whenever there is, sorry, just a minute. Back in a minute. So this is a normal pattern. This is a normal pattern. What if the pattern starts going like this? So some extra atrias, they are contracting. Right? So in other words, when the beat is not normal, when the rhythm is not normal, it is called as abnormal rhythm. And we use the word arrhythmia. Arrhythmia. Now the drugs which will be eliminating this arrhythmia, they will be called as the anti-arrhythmic drugs. These anti-arrhythmic drugs, they are divided into 4 classes. So these are the class. Class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. At this stage, we just need to understand that how smartly they will work. The class 1 will be working on sodium channels. Now think of what can happen. What can happen if they work only on sodium channels? The sodium, right? In case of cardiac myocyte, it is over here where the voltage activated sodium channels were getting activated. What if we slow them? If we slow them, then the contraction would be taking more time. Right? Correct? You got the point. Right? It will be taking more time because just for example, if there are 100 channels open over here, but because of that drug, now only 50 channels are there. So that slowly the sodium would be entering. Only 50 are working. So it will take more time to reach to that level. When the potassium will come. So this will take more time, so it will slow down. So this is 1. That is when the class 1 drugs will be active. They act on sodium channels. The class 3, right? 2 will. The class 3, it will be acting on potassium channels. They're acting on potassium channels. So if it's acting on potassium channels, how to make sure that atypical news. There is nothing like atypical news. It works on everyone. It works on everyone. That's why we need to understand these basic principles. Whatever is happening, your function is, your importance is to slow down the heart rate if it is beating at a high rate. How you slow down, that's the final concern. So potassium, when it is potassium, when it's acting on potassium, say, what if it will increase the speed so that it immediately drops? Immediately drops. So that's where the potassium will come. Class 4 will be working on calcium. Right? What if they block the calcium channel? So when they block the calcium channel, so less number of calciums will be available. Right? When the less number of calcium, so that means this plateau would be extended. Right? So heart would be contracting, contracting. So it is taking more time to contract. So that means its power will reduce. Its power will reduce. Right? So if its power is reduced, so when it is contracting very powerfully, so it will thrust the blood at a higher pace. So that will generate more pressure. But now, when it is beating like this, it is taking more time. So obviously, it will be pushing with less power. So that much blood pressure. Right? So calcium channels, they are important from that purpose. And this part, these are the super smart. They are called as the beta blockers. Beta blockers. This itself is a complete world beta blocker. So what beta blocker will do? We talked about it. That beta, they are the adrenergic receptors. Right? These are the adrenergic receptors. For some reason, the signals, they are coming. There is adrenaline secretion and the heart is beating so fast. Right? It might fail. You need to slow down the heart rate. So you will be giving beta blocker. Right? You are blocking the beta. When you block the beta receptors, so even if there is any adrenaline secretion, beta cells will say, no, will not listen to it. So that now the heart will come down slow pace because there is no beta stimulation. Again, in this case, we'll be having the drug 1 and beta 2. Beta 2. 1, if you remember, I talked about the selective blocker. Selective, right? Selective beta blocker. Selective beta blocker. If it is affecting only beta 1, so in that case, what would happen? It will decrease, right? You are blocking beta 1, so it will decrease the heart rate. But it won't affect the lungs, right? It won't affect the lungs. Good, right? But what if you are picking up beta blocker, which is a general beta blocker? So it will be affecting beta 1 also, it will be affecting beta 2 also. Beta 2 is present into lungs, right? What is the function of beta 2 receptors into the lungs? Stress. Stress, we need more oxygen. That means it would dilate, right? It would dilate the bronchus, right? But when you are inhibiting beta 2, so it will say, no, stop this dilatation. That means heart rate is controlled, but patient would be breathless because his bronchus, they are contracted, right? During excessive stress, beta blocker is given. Means there are so many reasons, right, when the beta blocker is used. But yeah, so stress is a small word, right? Especially when the arrhythmias are there. So we'll learn the arrhythmias. That is when the heart is abnormally beating and we need to slow it down. Potassium slowly. That's right, slowly. Right. So this is the importance of selective and non-selective. So then when we are going for non-selective, so in non-selective beta blockers, right, beta blockers, the heart is affected positively, right? It will slow down the heart, but at the same time over here, what it will do is it will constrict the bronchus. Right? Constrict the bronchus. So that's the reason that as per the condition, you have to take a call. But this is the core reason behind understanding this entire mechanism. Right? So that's it for today. Do revise it a bit properly. Next time we'll be talking about skeletal muscles and the muscular junctions. So much. And see you.
Bye, sir. Thank you.